There's so much going on right now. I mean, on our whole industry. Do you actually think we'll see lower rates via, we talked about through LLPAs, but through Powell? Do you think Trump and Bessent can put enough pressure on Powell, or is that just another year of 6 and 7% rates?
You know, I think that it's possible we see lower rates. I think that the only path to get there is going to be sustained lower inflation, which we've seen, but it needs to stick through these, through all the disruption that we have right now with the tariffs. And I think we'll see that in a couple months, right? We got a lot of deals that are being worked out. I mean, the China thing is on pause. So,
There's just not enough pain, it seems like, for Powell to use that Trump card for lower rates. It's
he's
still
not going to.
good enough.
Well, look, I think there's a legitimate concern that Powell has, which I would have as well, is look,
Reigniting inflation.
reignited inflation is a very strong possibility, and you can't deny that the employment numbers are strong. And look, one of the things about, the closing of the border and less, immigration, legal or illegal, I mean, or the deporting of people, that's going to actually provide more job opportunities for people that are here, right? And so, and then you think about the crackdown that they're doing on some of these social welfare type programs. This is going to force people that are right now not even considered they're not looking for jobs right now. And this isn't a slam. I just, when I listen to what they're trying to accomplish by cutting some of the SNAP program and some of these things that are part of this new tax bill, the big bill, whatever it's called, they are cutting programs that are going to force people who might have been relying heavily on the government to go back to work. All of those things to me point towards not right, wrong, indifferent, whatever. That's not even my point. My point is all of these things point to more people out looking for jobs and lower unemployment numbers, So if employment stays strong and if inflation stays low, those things are both, the Fed's only going to act if unemployment numbers go high. Like if we see issues with employment, right? Like we do not have full employment, but it feels like they're pushing more people into the workforce. So I don't think that that's going to happen, unless something significantly changes. And then I think on the inflation front, it's just a matter of we got to give it some more time. And I actually, as much as I want to see Powell lower rates, and I think he could lower them a little bit now, and be okay. But I understand not using, I've used this analogy on this podcast multiple times. To me, when the Fed has rates built up, it's like having their guns. I think of like a 6-shooter revolver, right? They got bullets in their gun. And right now they got a full magazine ready to go if they need to. Like, why would they waste that ammo right now with so much uncertainty going on? And Powell could give two craps about the housing market. He just does not care about the housing market. And he's not going to make a decision based on that. And he's not going to make a decision, in my opinion, based on what Trump or Pulte or anybody else tells him to do. But I think if we see a couple more reads of low inflation, I think he'll lower rates, because he has admitted that we are still very restrictive with our policy. We're restrictive right now. And we have not moved to a neutral, position. And so just getting us to a neutral monetary policy, I think is the right thing to do. That's probably another 50 basis point drop in rates would be my guess, maybe 75, maybe 100. I don't know. They would still have some bullets in the gun, to use that analogy. But I don't think he's going to do anything until he sees relevant inflation numbers post tariff. And now with the China thing getting pushed 90 days out, to me, it's like, that's still going to be an unknown. I almost wish we would have figured something out with China
just
now.
So we know. Yeah, exactly.
Just so we know. Now we got 90 days.
Because they're not going to make a decision with an uncontrolled, unknown variable. They'll just kick that can down the road again.
Right. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't. And look, to answer your question more directly, I don't think Trump or Pulte or Besson or anyone else is going to be able to influence what he does. It's going to be the data, and I think the data is not going to be clear until we can sort out this tariff stuff and see how.
Well, the
The market
jobs too
reacts.
are still wild to me to watch. Like again, to tie everything in today, think about all those agencies that are poorly ran with excessive amount of FTEs, full-time employees, right? We've already, CVFPB was one of them. Those are hundreds of jobs being eliminated. And if they continue to do that, where are all those people going to go? Now you may go, well, that sucks that they're unemployed. I agree. But also doesn't it suck that your taxes are so high to pay all of these agencies to pay people to do a job? This is a true story, not to go long, but this weekend I was hanging with my buddy who works for the city, and he just started there, and he's explaining to me that if he shows up 5 minutes late, it's in their contract that he can add an entire 2 days, somehow 2 days of OT. And I'm like, well, that seems really good for my buddy. He gets overtime paid for 2 days just because he showed up 5 minutes late. And I'm like, eventually I got the courage enough to go, well, how does that make sense? Like, I know that helps you. And it made a ton of sense once he goes, well, if they don't spend the money that they're being allocated, our tax dollars, guys, they will not get it re-upped next year. And so they always try to spend it. I'm like, I want to throw them off my boat right now, but like, holy smokes, like this is what's happening in all of our states. Our taxes are high because of that thinking. I have to spend this money, so I'm going to arbitrarily pay this guy for an extra 2 days because if I don't use my full budget, they're going to take it away next year. Now, times that by every agency in the government. F that, guys. Like we could be paying less taxes and we can run way more efficiently as a nation if we erase that thinking. And so that's tying everything together. But where are all those people going to go that got let go from all their government jobs? They may not want to go find, sorry, no offense, but like a real job when they've been just paid to stand around and do whatever for the last 10 years. I don't know. That's going to play out in the numbers that you're talking about.
Yeah. Look, I agree that I'm surprised that the employment numbers are what they are. I mean, there's been lots of talk on their accuracy and so on and so forth. But when all we heard about was all these government jobs being added, and we dealt with that for years, and now we see all the government jobs that are being eliminated, but yet we don't see that in the data somehow. Like, yeah,
it's going to show up at some point.
That's a weird phenomenon that's happening. And so that's interesting. This whole thing that you just mentioned about this is what you just said is prolific in every agency of the government. They get X amount of dollars allocated, and if they don't spend it, it goes away. This is, I've known this for years. And to me, this is an incentive problem, right? Like we need to have incentives in place for people that can bring projects or departments or whatever in under budget. And then they get incentives to do that. That still might lower the overall budget, but somehow provide incentives. There's no incentive right now for anybody to come in below budget. Matter of fact, it's punitive because if they come in below budget, because they had a good year or whatever, then they lose their funding the next year, which truly does happen, Yeah. And so it's a conundrum that, it's things like that make me go, maybe I would run for office one day. Because there's got to be a way. There's got to be a way that we can help fix
bloat.
this.
It just perpetuates bloat, and then a new agency gets added. Again, this is where the left and the right can own this for the last however many years. New agency, and it's ran the same way with the same budget, and they have excessive employees, and they just want to spend their money. And so you wonder why taxes have gone up since you've been a kid. That's why. And it truly needs to be stopped. I don't know why there's not more outcry for it. It's your money being taken from you from all your hard work to go accommodate this bad behavior. Why are we not rioting in the streets right now?
I don't think most people realize that that's the way that it works. I just honestly, but no, I've heard that for years, and it's very true, and it's kind of sad.
Yeah,
to be honest with you,
I want more accountability so that all of us can keep more of what our hard-earned money for our families, not have to give it away to somebody that's just going to give it away because they don't want the money taken away from their budget. It's wild to me. And what I meant, like if he showed up 5 minutes late to just clean that example up, he showed up 5 minutes late from his shift. That's what I meant. And so because he showed up 5 minutes late, they are forced to pay him overtime. I don't know why they just wouldn't pay 5 minutes of overtime. That's what you and I would do. But it was like a mandatory extra 2 days And that was the whole reasoning. Well, we have to use the budget, so we have to pay, we're paying you more. And everybody they're like, oh, and human nature, I get it. Like, oh, I can work and game the system and nobody's going to make me feel bad for that. Well, I'm going to do that every day then, or as much as I can. So you can see why this stuff continues to happen. And then imagine all the people that are a part of it. They don't want to unwind that. Why would they? So you do have some people that want to keep it continued. You got unfiltered hills today, by the way. I feel like I'm coming with a lot of hot takes, Tony, so I hope that's okay.
No, it's great. Look, I think that to me, it all boils down to incentive. There's no incentive for anyone to cut anything. There's no incentive for them to come in below budget. There's no incentive for them to not use all those funds. There's no incentive for the leadership to create extra efficiencies because they're not rewarded for that. They're all paid on a government scale. They're all paid based on tenure and whatever the case may be. The whole system, the whole government system, it's not like our industry where everything is incentive based, right? All of our
or you're punished severely if you don't have a good viable model, right? Like you're not in business anymore.
That's right. You're out of business, And I think that's the biggest challenge that I see. I mean, again, I'm not in government, so I can't say too much about it, but it appears to me, just from as a business person, that I look at it and I say, this is a system that has no incentive to move behavior in the right direction. And somehow you would need to introduce some sort of system that rewards good behavior, that, gives people more allocation if they come in under budget, or maybe they, I don't know how that would work, but it's got to be something like that, we all know in our industry that you have to incent the right behavior. And it's amazing how, when you're paid, I think if you could make,
just kind of spitballing here, like if you could make those, because that's a tough thing to unwind, behavior that's 100 years old in government, but whatever agency you run, back to the CFPB, if they were treated like you and I, we got to run our, you have a bigger region. I think you're running pretty much the whole company now, but if I don't run my region well, I don't have a job. And it's usually measured by profitability or lack thereof. So if we implement that one piece of accountability into the people that run these agencies, I think you at least see some behavioral change, because there's no punishment if they don't run it well. Matter of fact, they get more budget because they need more money to accommodate all their inefficiencies. So just some accountability about the people that run these things, I think that would be a nice change. Again, I don't know why a left or a right or a Trump or a Democrat would not agree on. That's like one thing that I think we should all agree on, because we're funding it at the end of the day.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. Well, yeah, some accountability to metrics, to goals, to, all that. You're right. I mean, if we don't hit our goals, we don't have jobs. That's kind of the way it works in our world, and there definitely should be more of that. It seems like the decisions that fire people in the government are more political based than they are performance based. And that's a problem,
Yep.
Yeah.